Hey, it's Engraver here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to show you how to build a sound sweep from scratch using the Alchemy Synth. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and create our software instrument and get into, with this drop down here, our Alchemy Synth provided to you for free by Logic Pro. And you can see that it is already at a default with all values and presets and all of that. And if you go into this advanced tab here, you can see in addition to all these parameters and ADSR values and such, that this sound, as you hear, that sound is coming from a source, or actually four sources here, A, B, C, and D, in the form of a sawtooth oscillator, a square wave, sine wave, and triangle, and so on. And so we have to start from scratch. We're going to start with a noise sweep, and that is going to be the same method we use for our sound sweep. So how do we get a noise sweep with Alchemy Synth? Let's go ahead and get to the file here. And to clear everything, we just go to Initialize Preset. And you can see everything is defaulted, totally cleared, and we have one remaining oscillation here. Everything else is muted, it looks like. I'm just gonna go ahead and bring the volume down for all of them to avoid confusion. And now we have a simple sawtooth oscillator. So we don't want an oscillator, we want some noise, so we go into that oscillator A, and all the way over here we turn this off and turn on noise. In this case it's going to be white noise, maybe a little bit of a higher volume here, a little bit of higher volume here, and let's see how that sounds. And you can go all down and up the MIDI keyboard, it will be the same. Going back to global, and just to change it to something a little bit warmer. Can't really tell, but that was what I chose. So let's go ahead and add that to our MIDI data. I'll go ahead and title this white noise. And to get that piano roll, I have it defaulted with the key E, the letter E, and that gets you to the piano roll. And I think that is the default. I don't think I've changed it, so there you go. And using this pencil tool key here, you're going to hit Command and it will mark that for you. And we'll try, let's start with the first, middle C. No, one below middle C. There we have it. Excuse me. There you are. Let's see how that sounds. Pretty standard white noise at that. Now we're going to turn on the automation key, and I'm not going to use this many measures, so I'm going to bring this all the way back here. There we go. And exit out here. Now, going back to automation, we will, instead of use read, we'll go ahead and use touch. We'll use our touch mode, and we're going to, with this touch mode, instigate three parameters: our cutoff here, our resonance filter here, and our drive. And so let me play this. Yeah, I think that should be fine for now. Let me go ahead and play it, and as I play it, I'll be touching these dials. Maybe you can see what's happening here. There we go. So you may have seen some lines change as I was instigating these parameters. That is because with the automation mode here, I have set it to 3 lanes. Just so it's part of my organization just to do it in order. So we had done cutoff first, then resonance first, and then drive. So let's start with our cutoff frequency. Let's bring it all the way down. Well, maybe down to, 208. Okay, that's fine. And we'll go ahead and set another node in place and raise it all the way up to 20,000 hertz. Now, what I like with automation, to make it nice and smooth and see some dynamic ramping and slowing down, I like to use the automation curve tool. It's been my favorite since I've discovered its function. And with that holding command, you can pull this down, you can invert it, and as you saw, a little bit of an S wave there. But I'm going to do a slow build and a speedy ramp up right at the end, right at the release. And now let's hear it without any changes of the drive and the resonance. Pretty nice. It is a little soft, and it's not just because the drive is at 0%. Let's bring this up all the way. I think that's fine. Very nice. And let's start, we'll go up to maybe 44%, that's fine. And then about 70% here. And that being linear, I think that should be fine. Very nice. Very nice. So that is our noise sweep. Maybe the resonance is a little too much. Bring it down to 55-ish. Yes. And there you have it. Now let's go ahead and bounce it in place and see for ourselves that waveform. All right, so it's a nice steady ramp up with some high frequencies before releasing quite quickly, but you may have noticed here just a nice, well, not so nice, very sharp attack. Now, I'm not quite sure why it does that, because we do start at a really low value. We start at a very low frequency and a slow build back up by bar 2, so I'm not quite sure why it has that sharp attack. My guess is that Logic Pro and its computation is anticipating this loop back because notice that right here we're at pretty sharp values. We're quite high. This is quite resonant, a drop off. So if we loop back, it's going to not have the low end, but it's going to start at the high end and then cut off low and then high again. So that was my experience. I don't know if that's the accurate explanation, but I think that's it. All right, so let's go ahead and get that out. And what I like to do now is simply move this over, not on the beat, but just a little bit over. Exit that out, make sure all that is lined up good. There you go. Bounce in place, noise sweep. Ah, much better. So that's the general shape. That is the gesture I want for a sound. So let's get into sound right now. We will be adding another software instrument, and it will be called Deep Breath, I believe the sound is. We will be using our Alchemy Synth under pads, not pads, sound effects, natural, organic, and deep breath, and just boosting the volume up just a little bit. very subterranean, very kind of Balrog-like, or computer, like a computerized Balrog. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And totally legitimate for the function, for our sound in this demo. So let's go ahead and solo that out and go back to our pencil tool, make sure that's there. Good, and I want to try, let's try a higher octave here. It's very quiet. Make sure all the volume is up. Let's go all the way. And oh, this is a bit of a slow attack. I don't want it that slow. Now this is at the 0th value, so if you run into that, you can use the parameters here. Yeah, just faster. All right, there you go. And exit that by just pressing E, and we will try bouncing in place. I'll call this static breath. Let's add a little bit of tail here. And a tiny bit of fade. And we'll change also the gain. We'll adjust it a little to be a little higher. Pretty good. And we'll bounce that to our desktop. Static breath. All right, now we'll go ahead and solo this again. And now we will duplicate this track where we have our lanes. And I actually, just to be consistent, will go ahead and add that. Perfect. And duplicate that. And voila, we should have all our lanes here. Now I had copied it once or duplicated once where it followed suit, this ramp here, but I will have to do this manually again. And I'm not sure why. So if any of you watching find a way to do that, that would be great. I'm sure if it's possible, it's easy to find. All right, and I think we start roughly at 5 or so, 5%, and 68, that's fine. And then drive, kind of around 5-6%. $55. All right, now raising that back up, we'll create our MIDI data here. Oh, caught me by surprise. I will edit that out for you so it's not so assaulting. All right, let's go ahead and, well, that's not going to be white noise forever. We are going to go back into this track's Alchemy, and instead of noise, we're going to import audio, and on our desktop we should have our static breath. Go ahead and import. Okay, so we should have it. And with our lanes of automation, our neatly colored lanes, we have our sweep. All right, so that is essentially how you make a sweep using sound with the Alchemy Synth. Now, the rest is just, spending hours on getting that right sound. So we're not going to spend hours here on YouTube. However, just wanted to point out a couple things. Maybe add a little bit more dimension by adding another sound source. So let's pick, I don't know, let's do metallic 5 and raise that up. Let's see what that sounds like. So it's got some character. I just realized let's take that out. now it's just the sound. It's a little weak, a little weaker. What we're going to do is raise it up a couple octaves. Give it a little bit more boost. It's kind of nice. And then add. All right, so very strange space ship kind of sound. So yeah, very, very science fiction. Let's go ahead and do another one. And let's add some edge, some drive. Whew. All right, so you get the picture. Now it's just a matter of finding that right sound for that perfect gesture. Now we could add plugins to this Alchemy Synth. That is totally fine. We can add those separately, but there are built-in effects inside the Alchemy Synth, and in order to do that from scratch, one way to, pretty much the only way I can think of right now, is right-clicking each of these dials at a time. So if you right-click here and go to Auto Assign, it will have you at full effects. Number 2 should be cutoff. That is the standard. Number 3 and 4 ARP octave. So if you had an arpeggiator and decided to use more than one octave for that arpeggiator, and symmetry. I don't typically use these. I use the resonance filter here, and I can't remember what this one was. All right, so ARP mode and auto assign. Not auto assign. That's how I got it. But what is that? Number oscillators. Number of oscillations. I typically only use the effects, cutoff, resonance, and maybe ARP if I feel like it, but not always. Now, number 5. When I pull back, it's empty, and that's because we don't have anything assigned. We don't have any effects assigned. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And just put a standard acoustic reverb, add some of that. Ah, I know what happened. So that is nothing to do with our oscillators. You heard that very high ping. That is actually because these two are dialed all the way up. Huh. Well, I don't know what that is. I have no idea. All right, so that has to do with the effects. So that would be something to explore. But that is how you build a sound sweep from scratch. So you just take the method that you would use for building a noise sweep and just inputting sound instead of white noise to your Alchemy Synth, to the sound source. So I thought that was pretty cool when I found that out, and I'm sure other DAWs have something like Alchemy where you could insert sound samples for that same effect. But of course, especially with automation, oh, that's nasty. There you go. With automation, you can do this pretty effectively, finding that nice sweeping motion, that ramp up, and then just instead of white noise or any other noise effect, you just insert a sound file. So hopefully that gives you some inspiration for, building sound effects for your libraries, if that is what you're looking to doing. If you don't want to, if you're like me, don't want to really budget for those nice hefty libraries. But anyway, hopefully that was just a bit of a trick that you enjoyed. Always be on the lookout for some more sound experimentation every Thursday. And until then, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.